Broads Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. I thought today was messy as hell. I thought that was a super sloppy, strange, and weird trade deadline for Daryl Morey. Now, before we actually get into what he did, let me tell you how I felt leading up to this journey that you call the NBA trade deadline. So on, what was that? Wednesday night at 10 o'clock, I started a 4-hour radio show. But the way I plan and the way that I show prep is prior to me leaving for the studio, I'll sit down in my office here and I'll put together my show sheet and I'll plan accordingly on what I wanted to do. And I wanted to talk about Dave Dombrowski and his interview with Joe DeCamara and John Ritchie. So that's exactly what I prepped for. Then the 76ers game started against the Golden State Warriors at the Wells Fargo Center. And they sucked. They're getting blown out when Steph Curry scores 9 frickin' points. Their leading scorer was Council. That's unacceptable crap. That is garbage. So as soon as the game ended, I was going on the air, and I couldn't help myself. I had to push back the Phillies convo and go right into the thick of it that Daryl Morey needs to do nothing. He needs to sell, if anything, because this team doesn't stand a damn chance, considering Joel Embiid most likely won't return for any regular season play. Therefore, what do we even expect if he is back by the playoffs? It just looks awful, and it looks bad, and they're not even competitive. They're getting blown out big time by any team. Outside of that Utah game where Maxey dropped 51, Tobias could only jack up 1 3-pointer in the last 2 games. 1 3-pointer each. That's disgusting. How are there how is there not more shots taken from behind the arc by Tobias without Joel Embiid on the floor? It's crazy. I cannot believe it. Maxey's not shooting the ball very efficiently. What was I trying to tell you? It's night and day when Maxey's supposed to be the guy with where he currently stands in his career. So I am so bothered by this nonsense. And then let's fast forward, because that was Wednesday night. Let's fast forward to the NBA trade deadline day and everything leading up to the 3 o'clock deadline. The first move is acquiring Buddy Hield. Okay, so you would think that sells a message that we are going to try and find pieces to help hold the fort down, because we don't want to be in a play-in. We don't want to drop to the 7th seed, 8th seed, hell, even worse than that. We need to be in the playoffs, so let's help our poor three-point attempts, because they are at the bottom of the league. They can't even jack shots up. They can't at all. So you need help desperately, and while Buddy Hield is atrocious and will get picked apart on the defensive side, you'll get switches and players licking their chops to abuse him possession after possession. You have zero answers on the three-point shooting side of things, that you have to take that risk, because the alternative, is we're not putting up enough shots, and that's not how you win in this league at this time. It's 2024, and this team is miserable even getting three-point shots off. Forget what they're hitting, forget that. They can't even get them off. So, yeah, Buddy Hield makes sense, and that name's been flying around this town forever. Am I bothered by giving up expiring contracts for him? Absolutely not. A couple of the second-round draft picks, that don't bother me either. You'll find ways to stash second-round picks over the years to package them up for other things similar to this. I got no issue with it. Fine. I can live with it. I get it. Here's where things just get all out of whack. You're moving Pat Beverly, and now you know that they're probably trying to sign Kyle Lowry, because that's the buzz from everyone who covers the league nationally. So you're going to replace the Pat Bev with Lowry. Okay, after you bring in Buddy Hield, you let go Daniel House, and then you trade Jaden Springer for a second-round pick to the Boston Celtics. By the way, I haven't even added yet that you did call up other squads in the Eastern Conference, so now you're dealing with the devil, Boston, the team we despise, and by the way, they're competing. Not that Springer's going to be a big part of their future here, but from a low-risk, high-reward type of move for a good organization like the Celtics are, maybe that should make your radar go off. So the luxury tax is an issue. They're somewhat making trades to try and get better in a couple of areas, but they're also selling off assets. And don't you realize what Springer was? Are you really maximizing Jaden Springer's return with the second-round pick? He's part of the issue on why you can't score from behind the arc. He's not great offensively. He's been putting the clamps down, though, and putting a few guys in jail as of late. It's nice to see him put in the effort on the defensive side of the floor. Don't get me wrong. And I'm totally cool with getting rid of somebody like that. But where I imagine it going is having a Springer in a trade with a few other big pieces, maybe a first-round pick, and you go get somebody nice, somebody significant, somebody that really, truly moves the needle, then by all means, yeah, Jaden Springer and this long journey that it's going to take for him to blossom, for sure. I'm not anti-trading Springer, but when you draft him at the current spot you did, and you also know on where the franchise is at currently, you kind of have an idea on you're either going to put him in a package to get something larger because it's ready to go mode, but that's not what Boston gave you in return. So you get a second round pick? I mean, I feel the long game is better to play with Springer compared to this. So the whole luxury tax and the ownership side of it, what was their plan? And I could tell you, I think their plan was to punt. I think get a little marginally better if they were a 3 out of 10. Maybe right now they're a 3.5 out of 10. So maybe they got marginally better with Buddy Hield, I think. But I think they were trying to sell. I think you never want to finish and go, I think that's what they wanted to do, because then they weren't clear. And they're throwing so many damn curveballs. They were juggling a bunch of different pieces around and really got nowhere except for a big question mark on where were you trying to take this. So what do you know? The 76ers seem to strike out. I won't be as angry as some fans about Pat Beverly in particular. I don't care that much about Pat Bev. Cool dude. I think he's awesome. I love hearing his pod when he's in this town. You get a different perspective on him, and you do feel like he loved this damn place and there was a connection and all. And I gotcha. Maybe there was something to his role, and I would imagine that everybody would agree that he gave you more than you ever would have anticipated at the time of the signing. So good for him, and he had some confidence to him, some arrogance to him, some toughness to him. Same with Marcus Morris. But that's not really helping you. This team stinks right now, and they are folding at a pretty high clip. Some of that is due to illness. Some of that is due to injury. You see how important and how impactful Joel Embiid is to having this thing run, because without him, they're not even an NBA team. I swear to God, I don't even know if they can win D-League games. G-League, D-League, G-League. I forget whatever the hell they switch it to G-League. They can't even play there. I swear to you. I don't know if they can even beat Gloucester Catholic High School in a game right now. Swear to God. So, Joel Embiid is the bread and butter of this thing, and obviously Nick Nurse is so damn annoyed with how he has no idea what he has on a night-to-night basis. But reality is, Pat Bev, all right, they move on for him. It's less about Pat Bev to me and more about the, where are they going with this? Yo, Daryl, was it really about punting to get Joel Embiid as healthy as humanly possible for next year? Because I think that's where they're going with this. But I don't know, truly. Another miserable day in Sixers world. And speaking of pushing things back, which I believe is the better option here, so I'm not insanely pissed. It's about how they got here, though. The confusion disappoints me. I wish it was wide open to the public, and there's nobody debating on what you saw. Everyone in the city saw the same exact thing. That's what I preferred, because then it shows that there's cohesiveness in the front office. There's a plan, and the plan is being pursued, and the steps that are following make sense with the plans. Right now, you're just throwing so many different things in so many different directions. The Buddy Hield thing felt like you were going to buy in a bit more, so when Joel Embiid returns, in your eyes, you have another weapon, and even just someone who can maybe help out down the stretch with Tyrese Maxey. You need pressure off of some of these bodies because they don't have the spacing and they don't have the threat of being able to put the damn ball through the hoop from outside the three-point line. So, you just think that maybe that's where it's going, and then before you know it, your backup point guard's toast, but then they're probably going to bring in Kyle Lowry. So if they get back some second-round picks in the process and they don't think Kyle Lowry's that much of a dip from Pat Beverly, then they are retaining some of the second-round picks they lost in the trade. And, but I don't know. If they decided punting is where this was leaning more towards when you weigh all it out, I do think that that's probably the best. I do. Truly, truly do. I don't like how they got here, though. And now we're starting to hear from some media members that it's possible that the Sixers could be all in on Paul George. That doesn't do a damn thing for me. When you watch Paul George, if you even watch Paul George, do you watch that and go NBA championship? Maybe I'm being unfair. And I know what's currently happening with the West. I know what's currently happening with James Harden and the West. I know. I see it. I do. And I watch from a distance. I got you. And while you have to try and maximize Joel Embiid's prime here, would it be the worst thing in the world? No, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But you know what it feels like to me? You're trying to play catch up with this whole thing. You're always 3 steps behind, and you're trying your very best to latch on to what's in front of you, but it's almost a mirage, and you're just hanging on by a thread to see if the mirage is real or not. I don't know. You're really grasping for it, and it's your final desperation leap to grab onto it, and I don't know. I mean, a lot of the cap space opens up, and Tobias is somehow going to make it all the way to the end with this contract, which at some point you probably assumed that wasn't going to happen, and he'd get moved on from, and someone would take the back half of that final year because it would be nice to have that veteran presence in the room. And here's Tobias, jacking up 1 3-pointer in his last couple of games. And by the way, the team allowing 136 points to the Brooklyn Nets makes me lose sleep. That's gross. That is so nasty. It's gross. Gross. The Brooklyn Nets. Ben Simmons, by the way, had the balls the other day to tell the media he feels that he should be starting. Oh, my God. Today's not the day to rip Ben, but just the fact that I was nonchalantly scrolling through Twitter and NBA Central popped up on my feed, and that was something that had a video attached. I had to watch it. In what world? Guy's delusional. Guy's delusional. But so are the 76ers at this particular time. Yep. Hey, look, they didn't give up any first-round picks. So they're clearly not mortgaging the future for anything. They're not taking a desperate leap and going all in to try and salvage this thing. They have their eyes set on the bigger splashes next season. And I think that's best for the Sixers. It sucks. It sucks. And that's a hard decision. But once again, did they go about it how I'm laying it out there? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm giving you how I'm assessing what they're doing. They may have gotten to where I wanted them to get, But did they luck into that? Or did they know what they were doing as they were going through these moves? Because I don't think this was strategic. This didn't seem to me as if Daryl Morey walked into his office a week ago and talked to everybody surrounding him and said, this is my vision. Let me walk it out to you. And these are what's on the whiteboard. And he goes, follow me. All right, watch me. And he starts to draw the connections and the dotted lines are happening. Okay. You're just throwing shit out there one way, throwing shit out there another way, and then you happen to fall on my plan. Now, unfortunately, what does that say about my plan? Okay, it's like, yeah, you get to throw shit everywhere, then you fall right on Broge's lap. But no, that's because they did deep down realize that Joel Embiid's future after this season, due to the injury, and knowing what you have financially that's going to smack you in the face with plenty of different options, that's where you have to go. And it's not easy to do that. It's not. And it's not easy to tell fans that, especially when we've been through the turmoil that we have as a city. You have to self-reflect, though, and you need to be real. You have to tell yourself the truth. If you tell yourself the truth, what I'm preaching needs to be done. Oh, man. Embiid's saying things on Twitter, though. That gets you all hyped up. What did he tweet? He tweeted, lots of people getting better, with a couple exclamation points. What did he say after that? That's fun for competition. Yeah, that's what it says. I can't read my own handwriting. Lots of people getting better. That's fun for competition. I don't know if today's the day to start throwing out the troll Joel Embiid. He's going to be himself, and that's part of Joel Embiid. But is he not happy with Daryl Morey? Pat Bev clearly isn't happy with Daryl Morey. He's throwing shade at him and essentially saying that James Harden was right. James Harden was right. This dude's a liar. I went up to him and asked, am I being traded? He said no. Before you know it, this dude's getting shipped off to Milwaukee to go play for Doc Rivers. Let's put the shoe, though, on your foot. If you're a president of basketball ops and somebody on your team asks you in the middle of the hallway, yo, dude, am I getting traded? And I know that he's getting talked about on certain phone calls, but it's nowhere close to being serious. It's nowhere close to being done, maybe, is a better way to phrase it. What am I supposed to say? Yeah, you are getting moved. Yup, see ya. You probably, though, could bring him in and go, look, I just want to let you know so you can prepare with your family and all. We are taking calls. Your name has popped up. You probably could do that, and that wouldn't hurt his feelings. It's just part of the business. Because the rebuttal to that is, well, what if he doesn't get traded and then he knew and thought that it was possible, and then it almost feels to him like he's stuck. Oh, the Sixers didn't really want me. They're now stuck with me, and it's a weird vibe, and you lose confidence. Well, shame on you if that's the case, right? You are an NBA player, and you know trade talks, especially as this veteran voice that's respected as a backup guard, can come off your bench. You bring the intangibles. People like your professionalism, your leadership, your personality, locker room guy. Guys like that are on the move all the time. Marcus Morris gets handed the keys and then his ass is out of town. The Robert Covingtons of the world, those guys get moved. This is the time for them. This is the time where they're actually probably talking to their significant others and their family, knowing that it's inevitable. It's more about when and not so much about if. So yeah, maybe Daryl Morey, instead of saying, no, you're not getting traded at all, should have brought him in, kept it honest. And maybe that's a problem, that Daryl Morey now has lied to a couple of different pieces. We don't know exactly what was said, though, to James Harden. James is a very interesting cat, and he was trying his very best to get out of this town anyway, so I wouldn't be surprised if there were some lies involved from every angle. Not that it would make it right for the front office here to start throwing out BS to certain guys and their agents and whatnot. But I can't just pretend like James Harden is some perfect dude when he's bouncing around teams nonstop with this type of skill level. Speaking of skill level, you should see me in the kitchen. Okay? You should see what I'm capable of doing when I got utensils in my hands. And I can't thank anybody more than my friends over at HelloFresh. Now, what if I told you that HelloFresh is teaming up with us here at Broads Media to give you breakfast for free for life? That's right. You are getting breakfast for free. And if you've constantly heard me talk about them now over the last 4 or 5 months or so, it's time. It's time to give it a shot and realize that what HelloFresh provides for you is the greatest thing in the world. They deliver food right to your doorstep, so you have to skip the trips to the grocery store. You sad about it? You shouldn't be. And it comes with pre-portioned ingredients and structured step-by-step photo cards. 8 steps. You can't screw anything up. And the best part is their menu is bigger than ever before. With over 40-plus recipes to choose from every single week, you have something new and delicious to discover every week. And keep in mind, you're getting free breakfast. So this is how it works. Go to HelloFresh.com/BroadsFree and use code BroadsFree for free breakfast for life. 1 breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/BroadsFree with code BroadsFree. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. Time for me to shut up. Time for you to do the talking. Let's fire things up here on the Anytime Hotline and kick things into gear. Let's do it.
Is this just selling? Is that what we're doing, 76ers? Are we selling?
Seems it.
Okay, I understand Pat Bev isn't lighting up the world, but he was a very good vocal leader in our room. That's gonna come back to bite you in the ass. That's the type of stuff that a team quits on, just like the Eagles. And Buddy Hield, I mean, weren't we talking about trading him for him with the Ben Simmons thing? You would have got him, and this is just a mess. I don't understand. I'm at a loss for words because we could have traded for him and Tyrese Halliburton, and look at what Tyrese is now.
We don't know that, though. Was it actually 1,000% confirmed that Daryl Morey had an offer and Tyrese Halliburton was there and he declined? Because from my recollection, it was more about speculation on what you could get, and we wanted them to have a few different options outside of just James Harden, and that name was resurfacing, but was it really truly there? And even if it is the case, I still don't despise the attempt of James Harden, even though it didn't work. Pairing that up with Joel Embiid and having the MVP of the league and the scoring title champion of the league with Joel Embiid paired with the #1 assist man, I don't mind that swing at all by this front office. And yeah, I mean, I just don't know. I don't know if that was legitimately 1,000% real or if it was just some smoke out there and some sort of media leverage just about another name to try and drive some prices, or for the Sixers to hold their end of the bargain differently. It is a circus out there and wild in the streets. You got to do a lot. And I don't know. I don't remember it like actually being on paper, hey, the Sixers have this offer and they're saying screw you and flipping them the double bird. Now, if I am wrong here and you guys can prove me wrong and there is something out there to confirm it, then sure, I think it's fair to look back at it and whatnot. But I guess another thing here to discuss on this whole front is, what were your expectations into today? Because what I thought it would be was something along the lines of Buddy Hield without the selling, without getting rid of Pat Bev. You bring in a Buddy Hield, just something that could maybe help a little push down the stretch because you are free falling. So whatever, a Buddy Hield, picking somebody up after that veteran market. Now, I don't know exactly what would have had to been done from a roster level. You get rid of Furkan. Hey, we don't got to see Furkan Korkmaz anymore. I think I saw somewhere that he's 10th in Sixers history in threes. The fact that he hung around as long as he did is a joke. Finally got the trade that he's been asking for years. What was the expectation, though? Because I've sort of envisioned something minor and just adding a Bogdanovich or adding a Buddy Hield. That's what I expected today. You got more because there was more moving pieces, but you sort of finished. and once again, what I'm explaining they did is sort of understandable. The route they took to get here, though, is bizarre. So they sold off pieces because they want to push the can down the road with Joel Embiid's injury. They also tried to get something that can help them throughout this back stretch. But the Springer thing's odd. The Pat Bev thing came out of nowhere. Doesn't sit right. It just leaves this gnarly taste in my mouth. And I'm trying to get it out with a nice Dunkin' hot coffee, little French vanilla swirl. It ain't working, though, because nothing can clean up this nonsense. Really, truly. Gross. Gross.
What up, Brody? Apologize for my phone cutting out the last couple times I tried to leave this, but this suicidal Sixer Sam. But, what the fuck was Daryl Morey doing today? Buyers at the beginning with Hield and then sellers at the end. It just makes zero fucking sense. It feels like we just punted the season. It feels like Embiid is for sure not coming back this year. 2 trades with conference rivals? What the hell? Trading Bev for fucking campaign? That's all I feel right now. It's fitting. All I feel is pain, dude. What is going on? This team fucking never ceases to amaze me. Just throwing us through the ringer year in, year out, year in, year out. Fuck Daryl Morey, man. I'm so over this shit. Have a fantastic day, though. Go Sixers.
Thanks for the ending of that call. Did I even mention Campaign's name yet? That's how much all this is blah, 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 blah to me. And I don't want it to be that way. It is so aggravating that that's where I stand with the current state of the franchise. I really prefer watching hoops this time of the year. I want to care about my team. I want to love my team. And now I have no idea what to expect on a night-to-night basis other than complete collapsing. So, yeah, Campaign, another guy who's been around a bit. Sure, better three-point shooting. That's sort of what I think is tickling the fancy of those who don't despise it as much as others, although I'm definitely hearing a lot of loud frustration and hearing from the disgruntled fans. There's not many that are like, okay, whatever, out there. But yes, you did improve three-point shooting-wise. Payne can shoot better than Pat Bev. Buddy Hield implemented here is definitely better. Okay. All right. If I laid out 2 scenarios, scenario 1 is you keep what you had, and it's Pat Bev, and you bring in a Buddy Hield, I guess. Or no, let's remove that because then you still have Furkan and Marcus Morris. Would you rather stay sort of with that vibe and maybe make only one move, or have this brand new, fresh, different look? Also, though, how many seasons have we discussed the crazy turnover nonstop? By the time Joel Embiid returns, and if it is at the rate that the playoffs begin, then he's played 0 minutes. Outside of him being in shape, that dude would essentially be playing 0 minutes with Buddy Hield, with Payne, with some new faces. How's that going to work? That's been part of the issue for so many trade deadlines from the last 5-6 years. It's Jimmy, it's Tobias, it's Seth Curry, it's Drummond, it's and some of this was off-season stuff, but it's more about how much the faces changed and how much you're trying to implement in the middle of the season. That is hard. That is so damn difficult to do, to go on a postseason run and factoring in the health status of Joel as a whole. It is crazy. Oh, man, I am so down with this roster and so down with them because I think they get crushed every night, every single night.
Bros, I hate the spot that the Sixers are in right now. I have some thoughts on the deadline. I thought Buddy Hield was a good move, although I am a little skeptical about getting a guy that's been in trade rumors for seemingly forever. Is he actually going to work out? my gut feeling tells me yes, because we've needed a shooter for so long. We got one. But some of these other moves, man, like Pat Ev, he was on a one-year contract. You've got this move is going to derail the franchise forever when they could just sign him next season if they want. But I feel the Sixers are in a position where they are down to throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And that's not what winning franchises do. When I look at Daryl Morey and what he's done at this deadline, and especially this time as Sixers GM, I don't see a plan. I see, if you use this term, a lot of Chuck Fletcher. And I just don't know what the plan is.
Wow, if that's a slap in the face. Wow. Now, full disclosure, I've been a Daryl Morey guy. I think he's got a lot of respect around the league for a reason. He came in here and had to mix up a lot of slop. He had to deal with Al Horford and getting rid of Richardson and this and that and then Ben. There was a lot that he had to deal with here, and it's not easy to get rid of what was left right as soon as he took over, and he did a pretty good job from that standpoint, and he's done a lot of great things. This is the first time I've been pretty much underwhelmed with it. I don't hate the idea of bringing in James. Even seeing what occurred afterwards, I don't hate the idea of bringing in James Harden. I don't hate the idea of that. It's not working out here, and he was abysmal by the end to deal with, but I don't mind it. Didn't work out. Whatever. Ben Simmons wasn't even willing to pick up a basketball and play for you. You get one of the best passers the game has seen on your team to pair with an Embiid. Let's see what can happen. You're still hamstrung, though, because of the Tobias deal, so that limits what you're able to do with your roster and getting certain depth pieces, and part of the reasons they've been thin is because of that, and the list goes on and on and on. This, though, is so odd and so bizarre and so blah. So blah. Don't know if he's Chuck Fletcher level. The having no plan, though, this seems to be confusion. It's sort of, all right, I think I know what they're doing. Nope. Throw that T word and shove it up the arse, because there's no way that could be the takeaway of a trade deadline. That means you didn't do your job clear enough to everybody. All right, that's where we're going to wrap things up today, though. I greatly appreciate all your support. I love you guys to death. You know that. It is not fun times, though, in the Sixers world, and we'll see where it goes moving forward as we wait for the updates on Joel. Don't be surprised if we get he's going to get reevaluated in another 2 weeks or another 4 weeks, because that's essentially what's going to happen after these first few weeks go by. We'll get another reevaluation period. That's sort of how they kind of started this whole messaging. All right, everybody, I love you guys to death. I'll see you on the next one.